Good day, and thank you for joining Civilnet. My guest today at the studio is Glenn Ellis. He's a documentary filmmaker. And Glenn, don't do to others what you don't want done to yourself. So this is my payback. You interviewed me a couple of days ago regarding a documentary about Armenia. Now I get to pick your brains. So you're making a documentary about Armenia. Why Armenia? What?
Well, I guess the simple answer is that it's a very interesting country, very rich culturally, and it often gets overlooked. So there was an opportunity for me to come here and make a film, and I seized it.
So usually your films are on Al Jazeera and the People in Power subtitle, let's say, and you've done stories like Bulgaria, Moldova, Hungary, and right?
That's right. Yes.
Why are you surprised?
Oh, I don't know. Well, you've obviously done your homework.
Within this context, does Armenia come in as a group, within a group of countries that might interest you more than others?
What I can say about Armenia, given that I've never been here before and that I've only really spent, when I leave in a few days, it will have been 2 weeks, is that it really exceeded my expectations. It's a very, very beautiful country, obviously, which I'm sure you know, but I was surprised by that. I was surprised just how spectacular the landscapes are, and almost magisterial. So I was very, very impressed with that. People are amazing, and I know people always say, "Oh, yes, I went to this country, and the people were great, and blah 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 blah." But they are, I mean, I've met people who tell me, "Well, actually, you think you're English, don't you? Here's an ancient book written by Alfred the Great, a famous English monarch, and right at the beginning of it, it says the very first English were Armenian or from Armenia." So it's just such a welcoming place. And now, to answer the question, instead of rambling on about that, does it fit into a picture? Well, that's interesting, because I've been to a lot of post-Soviet countries, the Baltic states, which are probably the most Western or Westernized, and they're in the EU, of course. Belarus, Moldova, Ukraine, and now, well, Georgia as well, of course. What I would say here is there seems to be a really unusual situation insofar as you have a very, very vibrant life in terms of writers, journalists. People are very eager to express their opinion, it seems to me, in my brief time here. And you compare that with some other post-Soviet republics, like, say, well, Belarus, for example. Then, it just feels like 100 times freer.
Is it, in your opinion, or the impression you get is people are more daring, there's more freedom of expression, we just like to talk much? What is it?
Yeah, you just don't shut up, do you? That's what it is.
No.
I mean, it's really hard to say. I mean, I think because Armenia has this unique history and it is such a cultural hub, and has been for many centuries, then you've got more to say than a lot of people.
Well, culturally, speaking of culture, what were your expectations from Armenia? Because I asked this question, I've had it on different occasions, and sometimes people simply don't know what to expect coming to Armenia. Sometimes people expect a more Russian culture, they expect a more Middle Eastern culture. What were your expectations as opposed to what you found?
Well, I had a few clues from a close friend who's a cameraman who has some Armenian heritage, and he was desperate to come here and do a film, but with me, but timing's always the problem in this business. So he never made it, but he did sort of explain to me that it was really fascinating, that the wine was good, that there were great writers and poets, and of course the rich history and the. But I can't, if I'm honest, and I ought to be, I had this vision of a slightly more grim, grey, post-Soviet place, and everywhere you look, that's exactly what we don't have here. So it completely confounded my expectations. I mean, we were driving to Nagorno Karabakh, we stopped and asked if we could film some people harvesting wine. And they said, yeah, of course, as long as you stay and have coffee with us. And it was, extraordinary and really wonderful.
So you went to Nagorno Karabakh, and Azerbaijan has a history of journalists who usually go to Nagorno Karabakh, not all of them, but with, maybe it's arbitrary, maybe they have a point system by which they work. A lot of journalists or filmmakers, artists even, are banned from entering Azerbaijan. Is this a concern for you?
No, not really.
I mean, you and your crew,
if it comes to it and I'm not allowed to go to Baku, so be it. It doesn't really worry me a great deal, to be honest with you. I have filmed in Azerbaijan. It was an interesting experience. But I enjoyed my brief time in Nagorno Karabakh more, and it's such a spectacular place. It's worth taking that risk, I think, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. Armenia is oftentimes branded, and at least we try to repeatedly brand Armenia as the land of hospitality, or wine is very a tagline now where that comes with Armenia. How would you brand Armenia? Let's say if it's even done commercially, because we're struggling with this.
Well, I think it's a sort of, it feels like it's a little dual, frankly. Driving back, across Armenia, you look at Armenia on an atlas and you see this tiny little country. But when you arrive, and it gives the impression of being small, and it gives the impression of, there can't really be that much in such a small area. And you get here, and it has this really dramatic feel. It's a big place. And driving back from Nagorno Karabakh yesterday, it was like, you were driving across, we were driving across extraordinary landscapes which really somehow resonated with history, and it just, how can you brand a place like that? I mean, I know it's a weird question. I mean, asking someone how would you brand, but for me it's interesting a lot of the time that was the first thing that would come to someone's mind meeting Armenia for the first time. Well, it's always the people and the place, isn't it, really? And the people seem very open. The people seem, as I said, there doesn't seem to be that strong a Soviet legacy here. Maybe I've just been very lucky and I've met people that want to talk.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you this question because as a filmmaker who's here to discover Armenia, so your impressions would be interesting.
Yes. Well, as we know, there was some trouble a few months back in the capital, some demonstrations because of the political unrest, but at the same time, being here now, it feels as if did that really happen? I mean, it's like walking down any Western European capital, so relaxed, so laid back, friendly, perhaps a bit friendlier than most Western
Maybe
European
that's a good
capitals.
tagline. Armenia, did all that really happen? So,
but that's how it seems. I mean, it's almost as if it's maybe two parallel realities working in tandem.
well, when, if I may ask this, or if you already know, when would we expect to see the documentary? How long is your process, post-production process?
Well, we never have enough time, and I'm sure here at Civilnet you have the same problem. But you, there's a joy to having lots and lots of time to edit. I've got, like, I guess 2 weeks to cut a half-hour film, and then I online and dub it and voice it. So 12 days to finish it, and hope that everything's right. I mean, we're getting everything transcribed now, so I think it's going to go out the first week of November, probably the first Wednesday.
Fingers crossed, and looking forward to seeing it. Thank you for coming, discovering, speaking about Armenia, and speaking with us. And we also thank the viewers for joining us. I hope you get to see the documentary and found our conversation and additionally interesting.